Free TV, in association with getoutofdebtfree.org.
Recording.
Yeah.
Right, you ready? 3, 2, 1.
Okay, we've had a lot of questions about the video we did in the garden last time, so we're going to try and hopefully answer some of them questions now. Go on, Kev.
Yeah, we've had quite a few inboxes since the last video that me and Mark did. People still aren't grasping the concept of the bills of exchange. We'll go through each step. We're going to do a quick lesson on this. 3 people that I know have been steamrolled in court, and if you remember in the last video we said that they can flip jurisdiction. Well, that's what they did on these 3 guys. They flipped jurisdiction, so we'll cover that as well. And then we'll go into the joint gyro credit slips and the credit slips, and we'll discuss how, because there's 3 main roles that you play in the bill of exchange. We'll go into that later on and how the mechanism works. But you just got to understand it's a game, and each game has its rules. This doesn't apply. You can't use 3 letters on this, and you can't ask for contracts because, as you know, a company can't contract with a man, only a man can contract with a man, and they're all agreements. So you get a telephone agreement, you get a loan agreement, it's all agreement. So that's where we are on that. So if we go back from the start, we'll go back for the court bit first. I think get the court wound bit up first. So one guy contacted me last week, and
before that, if you're going to contact us, don't contact us the day before. You know, contact us a week or a month before to give us more time to deal with it. If you contact us the day before, we're going to struggle to help you.
And that's what happened. That's what I was, Anyway, this particular guy, 2 days before, he contacted me, and then the day before that, his court hearing, he contacted Paul Webster. I had about a good hour's chat with him, and I explained about the safety aspect of it, and the 86 warrant of execution aspect of it, where it's just a statutory instrument, and they're statutory obliged to come to your door and, can I change your prepaid meters? Well,
they could probably say, I've come to change your prepaid your meter, because they don't actually have to say, is it okay? And they'll look, as we know, they lie and they try and scam us all, so just bear that one in mind.
So he went to court, and he went with his gas safe certificate, and I got blew out the water. Blew that one out the water straight away. But then the clerk, because in the magistrates it's the clerk at the front of the magistrates that actually guide the magistrates. They're the ones that agenda upon the law.
Well, it's supposed to be.
Supposed to be, yeah. But they was going still for another warrant, and they said this is not a safety issue. So you can see what we talked about on the last video, where they flipped jurisdiction, and they're not going to help you, and they're not going to tell you when they're going to do it. They'd actually flipped jurisdiction on him.
Now, if he'd asked if they'd flipped jurisdiction, do you reckon they would have said yes? They would have said, if he'd asked what jurisdiction are they in, do you reckon they would have said civil?
Yes, I do, because that happened on another case. So don't be frightened, and ask if things aren't going. You've blew the 54 warrant out, so now you should be asking yourself questions. They're still going for another warrant. So you just say, what jurisdiction does the court lay in at this moment? And they will say, we're in criminal, but we can deal with civil. So, well, are we in civil? Well, yes. The clerk actually said to him, this is not a safety issue, but if you can prove to the court otherwise that the bill has been paid.
Yeah, down that same old route.
I'm still going to issue the warrant. And they issued the warrant. The thing is, what people are doing when they stop or they don't pay, they don't pay through ignorance, really. Okay. The key is put your bill in dispute before it gets to the court stages, before it gets to the warrant stages.
Now, how would you put the bill in dispute?
Well, if you're going to go down our route, you ask for the paper bill from the utility company, and you pay with the bills of exchange.
But what happens when they send you an invoice?
What, the one that you get
when you've asked for a bill and they send you an invoice?
Yeah, you can use the transfer by endorsement as a negotiable instrument. So once you do that, that bill is now in dispute once you transfer it by your endorsement, which you must watch the other video we did about 3 weeks ago.
I'll put a link towards the end so you can just click on it and go straight to that video.
Just to go through all that again, you may as well watch the first video. Is to pay with a negotiable instrument, not transferable for a non-commercial agreement, and that is all to do with the Consumer Credit Act, section 123, and the main one is paragraph 5 for a non-commercial agreement. But other people that we found out as well, they're paying with promissory notes and they're paying for A for V, and you can't do it. And the reason why, because the Consumer Credit Act says we can't do it, only a bank can draw on that. But under section 4, we can use a negotiable instrument to discharge the sum, which is what we're doing. So put the bill in dispute before. Now when you go to court and they go for the safety warrant first, get yourself a safety certificate. But I read another post the other day, if you're in tenancy or a landlord, they will have the gas safe certificate because they have to, because they're landlords.
I think they actually send you a copy as well, so you should have one anyway if you're rented or council or whatever they are nowadays.
And that won't cost you anything because it's your landlord's duty. He has to do that because it's his insurance basically. But if you're a private owner, then get yourself a certificate, 30 quid, 40 quid, it depends. So now when it goes to court, you'll blow, all you've got to do is keep tapping that 54 warrant and you're going to go into court. And what you want to do, you want to put that gas agent on the stand and you want to cross-examine him. You want to ask him if he's legally trained. If he says no, then you just say, well, I'm going to go in court now then and challenge the warrant. He's got two choices. He can say, no, you're not, and he'll cross it out, or he'll say okay, because he doesn't know what you're going to say. But when you get in there, he's actually sworn under statement, under oath.
And you could even say, just as long as you know, you're talking to the gas agent now, just as long as you know you're under full penalty of perjury, just to emphasise it to him.
So, have you got first-hand knowledge of my house being unsafe? He hasn't. He's talking crap. He hasn't at all. He's committed perjury in front of the judge. So, he should then, you question the judge, he should now be charged for what he's done.
7-year imprisonable offence,
perjury?
perjury?
I think so, yeah. Is it the 1919, I think it is, Perjury Act? I think it's section 5 and section 12 rings a bell. So you go into court and now you blew out the 54 warrant. Don't say anything about the bill being in dispute at this time. Get that warrant discharged and that's it, you should go. But if the magistrate says, well, have you got proof that you've paid for the bill then? And well, yes, I have. I paid lawfully with honour through the bills of exchange. This bill is in dispute. They cannot go now with the 86 one because you put it in dispute. So you're ahead of the game. That makes sense?
Yeah.
So then, it should be, if you get your legal pack and the documents that you need, we'll get those linked up and posted at the end. Take those with you to court just in case. Don't have them there and sort of say I've got the legal pack. Just go with them just in case.
You're playing basically they're playing a fishing game. You want to see what they're going to play, and if they're going to play, then you've got your joker in the pack if you like.
But don't show your cards first. Let them do it. If they don't mention about the bill in dispute and if you've paid it, then don't bring up your legal pack. But if it is brought up, just mention it. Well, I have paid it, I've got my legal pack, I'm ready to go and I'm ready to defend the claim with honour. They'll more than likely ask for your legal pack. Take 3 legal packs with you, one for yourself, one for the judge and one for the gas agent or the electricity, because they should then take it back to their legal department. The judge will then have a copy and the case will be adjourned and it'll go before a district judge hopefully, and they know what you're coming from and they know what you're going to present, and they will present you their legal pack as well, the utility company, and that's basically it really.
Now, I know we covered it in the last one, but I think some are still struggling because what people are still saying is, because you haven't paid your bill, that makes my bill go up.
Yes.
Is that true?
No. It's all given to us when the country went bankrupt. I mean, I can go back, I think it's the 1800s, the first one as well, and then you said the 1930...
1939, the start of World War II, and of course, under bankruptcy rules, you're only in bankruptcy for 70 years. So in 2009, we would have been out of bankruptcy, except, of course, we had the financial crash, which kept us in bankruptcy for another 70.
So what they did, they gave the resources, if you're still not up on it, but when I talk about the Bill of Exchange, hopefully you'll understand it. When the country went bust, they gave the people the resources, but they made us the debtors at the same time. So it was your great-great-grandparents that were going out there, and we said in the last video, they build the infrastructure, they build the pipes and everything, and they gave us that back. That was the trade-off. They gave us that back, so it's your right to have it. So when people,
if I just jump in there, one of the things that some say, but it comes from Russia, so how could we have paid for that then?
Yeah, because they've already paid for it anyway. It's already paid.
Exactly, and of course, as we mentioned in the last video, the way that the alleged energy companies here pay for it is with a promissory note to Russia.
Yeah,
it's paid for.
Some people, because we're paying for it, we've been programmed for that long. It's just a routine now. But just think of things logically, really. Say if you're living on a street and you've got so many houses and you've got one main gas main coming in and it trunks off, doesn't it, to each individual property. And I'm with British Gas and Mark's with EDF. That gas is still coming down that same pipework, but how do you split the gas and say British Gas own that gas and EDF own that gas? You can't. It's the same gas. It's the gas.
In fact, there's a video I did in the car with the man with no name a while back now, probably a year or so ago, pointing out that exact same thing. Because all they come and do, and sometimes they don't even do that, is change the meter, and they say that's our meter, so everything passing through it is theirs. But all you're really paying for with the meter is the actual meter.
It's the readings of the energy that you consume.
Yeah.
And these energy companies, you're not their customer, which people think they're your agent, basically. And that's where we are on that. So you've got an understanding on that concept. I don't think there's much more to clear up on that, really, is there?
I think that's cool. We've covered pretty much as much as we can.
So put your bill in dispute first before you even go to...
But we're not saying do this. We're not saying do it. If you want to wait a bit longer till we've got a bit further down the road. But we are at the point where they're running around like headless chickens at the moment, and they just don't know what to do.
When I spoke in the last video, I was talking about that little Skype group that we've got. There's about 4 or 5, and Mark's been in a couple of times. The 4 or 5 of us that are in there at the moment, because we got thinking as well, why come they steamrolling all over them when they produce the gas certificate and it's the warrant of execution which is left under the 86, and it's the same for the electricity as well. The 1954 covers the gas and the electricity safety, the warrant of entry. We talk about it, and 5 of us have actually put our account in dispute. That's why we're not being touched, if you like, because it's stalemate with their legal departments, and it's just ping pong. Where these people aren't disputing it and they're not paying just through ignorance, when they get to court, they've got nothing to show.
Or they might be paying by A for V, which used to work, but they've put a stop to that by changing the rules slightly.
So they've not put the bill in dispute because it's just sheer ignorance that they've not paid. So there's no proof or proof of claim or no case really why you've done what you've done. So they're just going to award what they need to do. So I think we can move on to the next bit then. So we've covered the gas bit again, just to recap, but watch the first video we did about 3 weeks ago, and say Mark will put a link into it. So now the best thing to do now is we'll talk about the bills of exchange, give you a quick lesson on the bills of exchange, and then we'll move on to the gyro credit slip, the joint gyro credit slip and the bank gyro credit slip.
If you don't know the difference, look at the video we did about 3 weeks ago. We explain it, and I put it up on screen for you to see. There is a difference, so if you don't know, look at the previous video.
Yeah. So okay, bills of exchange 1882. Now that's not the document number, that's the year, and it's been in force now since 1882, and it's how commerce works. It's how money exchanges, transfers, checks, negotiable instruments, promissory notes and things like that. So it's how commerce works. It has to. otherwise everything will go bankrupt.
Now, one of the things that I have heard bandied around a few times is, well, they'll just change the law.
We spoke about that actually in the Skype group. I actually mentioned that as well. Because we're ahead of the game now.
Yeah.
Will they change it? That I can't.
If they do, I can't. If they change it to any sort of degree, because the whole commerce game is based on that act.
Yes.
If they change it, it's they basically going to make that act null and void, and therefore everything will be free anyway, because you won't be able to play in the commerce game.
Everything will just go bankrupt again. The nation will go bankrupt. Yes, I've heard that about changing the rules, and I've actually mentioned that as well. And the only rule that I think they could probably change would be the Consumer Credit Act, where it says non-commercial agreement. They could maybe alter that, because that's the biggie for what we're doing.
Yeah. Well, let's just make sure we've got copies of it, and I think they're just mulling about at the moment, trying to figure out how to deal with us.
Yeah.
And it's like this was a dam, and there's holes appearing in the wall, and they're putting the fingers in. Yeah. The fingers are full. They can't put any more. They've got no more fingers. The whole thing's going to come down very soon, and I don't think it'll matter if they start changing that.
No.
Particularly with all the stuff coming out recently, and of course we've got this Friday coming up as well, which is going to be very interesting
very
as well.
Good. Very,
let's not get off subject.
No, at the end we can. So the bills of exchange. So first we'll go about a promissory note. First of all, a bill of exchange. You're doing it. You guys that are watching us now, you're doing or performing in the bills of exchange every day when you go to work, and in your lifestyle and your social private life. You're using the bills of exchange. And the basic rule is, if you take something away from the man always has to be compensated. And that's the basic rules. And the other two ones is you can bank it and you can cash it. There's the other method, which I'll tell you in a minute. But that's basic. So when you go, we gave an analogy last one, we was in a restaurant and we was eating. If you're going to drink all his drink and eat all his food at the end of that night, and you've had a good night, you've got to compensate him now. And the way you're going to compensate him, because you've took from him, you've got to compensate him. So you compensate him with cash, cheque or debit card. And that's it. And you go to the shops, everywhere you're doing it, you are performing in the bills of exchange. It has to, because that's how commerce works. That's the key. Commerce must work like that. So the first one, then there's different forms and there's different mechanisms in the bills of exchange. We'll cover the three ones. First one is the promissory note. Nice easy one. That involves two parties and two parties only. So the example is, I'm a self-employed man. I've got a lot of stock and I own a factory of goods, and Mark's starting a business up now, and he wants to get the goods out my factory so he can start his shop up and sell my goods because I'm making them. But he can't afford it at the moment. He's got a few financial problems, so he'll come to me and he'll say, I'd like some goods off you, Kevin. Can we come to an agreement? Now, because we're men, we can have a contract. So you draw a contract up, and I'll say, yeah, Mark, what can I do for you? Well, I'd like £20,000. Yeah, we can make it more if you want.
No, 20's enough, eh? I don't want to get in too much debt.
No. £20,000, okay. And what do you want to do with it? Well, I can't afford it at the moment, but I'd like the goods off you. Can we draw a contract on? Can I issue a promissory note? Now, a promissory note is I'll accept it. Both parties agree it. I will give the goods to Mark, and then we have the contract drawn up that I'll say, well, when are you going to plan on paying me? In 6 months' time. Okay. You've got to understand, when you do a promissory note, Mark has committed a liability for himself. No money's passed yet. He's just made a promise to pay. So the liability now on Mark, and on a promissory note, I'm the creditor, Mark is the debtor. Okay, so I give him the goods. After 6 months...
And I give him my promissory note.
Yes, which is a promise to pay. So at the end of 6 months, I get the cash.
And I get the promissory note back.
Yes.
Very important, because banks don't do this.
So when Mark gives me the money back, he will go to his bank, and the three main roles that you pay in a bill of exchange is the draw, the drawee, and the payee. So Mark has to give me the money. So he has to create that money, if you like, and he has to write a check, and he's called the drawer. So he's creating the cash, he's creating the money. So he will give me a check, and when I get that check, I have to wait so many days for that check to clear. And the drawee is Mark, and the draw would actually come from the bank, Mark's bank, and that would pay my bank, and that's a promissory note. It's a bit like an IOU.
Yeah.
It's that's one of the easy ones, and that's it. It involves two parties. Also a promissory note, if you had money under the bills of exchange, money is a promissory note because it's a promise to pay. So if I got a tenner out and gave it Mark, that's it, it's a promise, I've paid him, and it says on the bill as well, the bearer promised to pay.
I promise to pay the bearer on demand the sum of.
Yeah, all to do with the bills of exchange, and hopefully you can see where it's all coming in now into the Bills of Exchange Act. So now that's the promissory note. When you look at negotiable instruments, if you get a normal bank check, that is a negotiable instrument. It has zero value until you create that value, so it's negotiable. So when Mark gives me the check, or someone else writes a check out, they become the drawer, so they're creating the cash. And then when you give the check, it's the bank, draw on the bank, because that's where the money comes from, the draw, that's where the money is, the source. And then I become...
Think of it like a draw.
Yeah, and I become the payee, so I'm at the end of it, and I'm the one that receives, I'm like the beneficiary, I receive the credit at the end of it, so I become the payee. So I hope you understand that bit. So I think it should tie in now when we discuss drawee, payee, where the bank gyro credit comes in, and the joint gyro credit.
We're going to explain it
As
so
best-
that you
Yeah.
can. Yeah. There's
Right.
only so much we can do, and we're going to do our best now.
Yeah. So right, we'll talk about the bank gyro credit first, and then the joint gyro credit slip, and then you'll understand now drawee, payee. We'll put the overlay on the video again at the end. So if we look at the bank gyro credit slip, that's that one there, and Mark will overlay it. In the top left hand corner you've got capital 1, and then you've got the name, who the bill is to, because this is a check, this is a bill to pay, yeah, and you've got the name, who it's for, and then you have a bank, and on this one just there it is HSBC, and if you notice the value is blank, that has zero value at this moment. So this bill will then go to Mark, because he owes now, capital 1 will say £400. So because there's no value being created at the moment on the bank gyro credit slip, Mark has to create that money, so he becomes the drawee. So he writes a check, and then he will go to the post office counter, and he will pay, and he will write in the column there the amount that is paid, which is £400. So he's the drawer, and he's the drawee as well, because he's drawing from his own personal bank account. Okay, and is the drawee as well. So he's the drawer and the drawee. You go to the post office and you pay with this, they'll stamp it off, and then the payee, who's going to get the reward at the end, will be capital 1, and that will be paid into their bank, which is HSBC. That's clear on that, and that's how that works. So just to recap from the last video, you can't pay with a negotiable instrument on a bank gyro credit slip. You cannot do it. That can only be paid with cash, check, and that is it. Okay, so we'll look at the next one, which is the joint gyro credit slip. Again, watch the last video when we explained the joint gyro credit slip. This is the twist now. This is where the twist happens. This is where the good stuff is. When you get a joint gyro credit slip, that's issued to us, and it's issued to you that's watching the video. I and you are neither the drawee, or the payee. This is where it gets fun now. The draw, and this is hopefully when we say it's already paid for, this is going to bring it home now. So the draw is actually the corporate bank. They're going to create the check and they create the money, and they're going to be the draw, and they're going to be the drawee as well, because they're drawing it from the credit account, the corporate bank, and they issue you a check, because we've never asked for the check. It's appeared. So we haven't asked it, so we can't be the drawers or the drawee. We haven't created the money, have we?
If we could take it to the bank and cash it, and get cash for it. But of course, we're not.
No, so we can't draw because we've not created this money, and we can't draw it from our bank account. The corporate bank's done it. So that's where it should send, light bulb moments now. So I've got a check, and it comes from the corporate bank, and basically what they're saying is saying, here you are, Kevin. This is to pay your utility company.
Now, one of the things they're probably going to want to know is, why would they send you a cheque to pay for the gas or electric that you've used?
Because it comes out your credit account, and it's already paid for. But when you get it, and they say, here, Kevin, here's the cheque, because that's a cheque. Here's a cheque for you to give to your utility company. So we'll say Mark's the utility company.
But that's where the scams comes in, because of course most people think, oh, that's what they've got to pay, so they'll send that back to them and a cheque.
So now, if I was to give that Mark, who's British Gas, and I just give it him like that, he's going to say, can you accept that, Mark?
If I'm British Gas?
Yeah, can you accept that?
Yeah.
Can you accept that as it is, though?
No.
Oh, so it's no good to me then, really, is it?
No.
And you can't have it. No.
You're not
much as you want. No.
Yeah, I'd love to help you, but you're not getting any money out of me.
Oh, so I can't cash it. I'll tell you what I can do though. I can transfer it by endorsement.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Would you accept that?
Yeah, we'll accept that.
Okay. So because they gave me this bill, I can't do anything with it. I can go to the bank. Remember when I spent with a joint gyro credit slip or any bank or thing, the results at the end for the creditor, if you like, is bank it or cash it. And I can't do neither. But I'm going to go to the post office and see if they'll cash it for me.
Yeah, I don't think they
Don't
will.
you think so?
No.
What about the bank? My bank?
No, they're so brainwashed into it. They expect it the way that a lot have been doing it, is that with a cheque or cash.
Oh. Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do then. I'm going to, because it's no good to me then.
No.
Because the corporate banks said, here's your money of £213, but I can't do anything with it. And they've issued it out the credit, because they've issued it, not me, and they've created the funds, haven't they? So I'm going to transfer it. So that's where another position comes now in the bills of exchange. You can be the endorser. Okay, so I'm going to endorse it. And when I endorse it, I sign it, and I put some wording on it, and we'll show that as well. But I'm going to write on it as well. I'm going to say non-transferable.
Now, why are you putting that on there?
Or what? Because if I say I'm going to transfer it, and then I put non-transferable, that can be a bit confusing. Yeah. So basically, if I put non-transferable, that is for me to give British Gas, who's Mark.
And then I've got to bank it.
Yes. When I say non-transferable, British Gas might have some debts with somebody else, we'll say. But if I give them that and I transfer it and I say non-transferable, they can't then send that off to the company that you owe.
Yeah.
It's direct to you. It can't go anywhere else. I'm transferring it to you, but it's not transferable.
Yeah.
So you can't start fiddling it and cashing it in elsewhere and you're underhanded.
So I've got to just take it, and
you've just got to
take that money.
I'm sorry, yeah. So he's just got to take that money, and when he gets that money and we transfer it by endorsement, he will zero back my domestic tariff because...
Or I should do, if I
should
wasn't
do.
very, very naughty.
Yes. And that barcode, and you watch the first video,
Yeah.
that barcode is your account. So,
But by your account, we mean your actual bank account that you don't know about.
yes, because everybody has got credit, and everyone's got their own... I could be worth money than Mark, but you own a villa, don't you? Something?
In the Bahamas, I've got a
So,
it's
allegedly,
it's
yeah.
a mansion actually. It's a
Yeah.
mansion, and I would like to invite you all to come to my mansion, and you can stay as long as you want. All I ask you is that you actually let me know where it is.
Yeah, because we still don't know where it is yet. So I can't do anything with it. So I transfer it, and then that will zero back your domestic tariff. Because it should make sense now that who's issued it, the corporate bank, who's created it, and who's drew the cheque, the corporate bank. So they're giving it you. That's your credit. But because you've been programmed for so many years, you'll actually take, if you used to do it the way that you've been doing it, you'll take cash with this as well to the post office, and you'll give them cash over the counter. And when that cashier scans that, which they think is the account for British Gas, it's not. It's your account. And that's it's as easy as that, really, isn't it? I hope it's made it very, very clear. But when we've been talking our little Skype groups, even the knowledge that we've got, if we wasn't to pay with cash and we did it via transfer by endorsement, as much as we're trying to find out yet, we don't actually know. And this is serious. I'm not joking now. We don't actually know if they've actually been paid. We don't know yet. We can't prove it. And genuinely we can't.
They're seriously not going to tell you either way.
We can't prove if they've already been paid.
Because if they did, that would be game over.
Yes. So if you just send this, we don't know if they've not been paid and they're just going to zero you back to zero again, because all it is to say how much energy you're using off the national grid, if you like, and you've used so many units, which equates to 200 and something pounds. Then they can take it off their readings and their books and accountings, and it zeroes back my account, and it keeps their accounts in order, because we're non-commercial, you see. We're not creating goods, are we, for profit? So we're not using the resources for profit. So we're not liable for it under the Consumer Credit Act. And I'll say it again, section 123, and it's paragraph 5 that says it, non-commercial agreement. But if we was to go and pay, as you've been doing it for years, and give them this, we don't know if now they've been paid twice. Once with this, because the corporate bank's issuing this, and our money as well, we still don't know if they've been paid twice.
But we suspect they are.
Yeah, there's some underhanding going off there. But they've changed the tactics now, and this has been brought up in about the last 2 weeks, and it's important. I must get this out. If they send it back, okay, under the bills of exchange, under section 43, they've been in what they call dishonour, and they've sent this back, and we don't accept your method of payment. That's what they're going to say.
Although, of course, under the bills of exchange, they then refuse payments, and the debt should, in theory, be gone.
Yes.
But of course, they just ignore that when it suits them.
Yeah, because that is a lawful remedy under the bills of exchange, what I've just said. Lawful. And it's not getting out of it underhand, that is lawful paying it.
Can you just explain to them why we know it's a lawful remedy? Like someone was in court and it was mentioned.
Yeah. What's happened in court with Paul was, when he got to the court, and it was the gas agent that was on the stand, it was the gas agent that actually said, this is not a safety issue, this is a monetary issue. So called Paul, who's in the group as well, Paul Webster, he said, well, hey ho, we're in the wrong jurisdiction, this is a civil matter. But they didn't flip jurisdiction on him, but the magistrate had a word and says, well, have you paid it then? And he says, yes, I've paid it honourably, with remedy, through the bills of exchange. The actual magistrate turned around and said,
No, the clerk.
Well, as the magistrate first says, what are the bill of exchange? She says, what's the bills of exchange? And the actual clerk turned around to the magistrate and says, it's a lawful remedy, ma'am. Bingo. It's a lawful remedy. We cannot deal with it in this jurisdiction. So it was adjourned, I think for 56 days, if I remember, because there's been a lot happening. Paul turned up back at court, but British Gas didn't turn up. But the clerk was ever so nice and said, have you heard anything from British Gas? He says, no, and the court says, well, we haven't heard anything either, but to save you, not a wasted journey, the judge would still like to see him. So would you still like to go and see him? And he said, yeah, I'd like to go in. So he went in and had a word with the judge. And basically the judge sort of said, well, what is it you'd like me to do? Or tell me your case and what you've done. And Paul said, I'd like you to award in my favour.
And what did the judge say?
I'm sorry, I can't do that because the other party is not present.
And it's strange though, because if Paul hadn't turned up, I guarantee they would have awarded in the other party's favour.
It works like that,
yeah.
And you must understand that as well. If it's the person that's bringing the claim, if they don't turn up, they don't award against them. But the person that's being prosecuted, if they didn't turn up, then yes, they would be.
Yeah.
They would get judgment against them. So it's been about 2 years now with British Gas with Paul, and they've just ignored him. They won't talk to him or engage with him. Jay, I've said it in the other video, he's paid with the bills of exchange because his was so easy. He, on the end of it, said, how would you like to proceed? And he said, through the bills of exchange. So he gets one of these every month with a nice blank area where he signs it, transfers it by endorsement and posts it off, and he's been doing that. So it works, it does work, but what they've been doing, they've been changing tactics now. And we had one case last week, and we've helped this guy, and he knows who I am, Alonso, down in Sussex, down in Brighton area. They actually sent him a joint gyro credit slip, but zero value on it.
Ah, I can see what they're playing after
yes.
this. Do you want to explain what the game is with that?
Well, yeah, I think we know what the game is on that.
We do, but these may not.
Yeah. So, where it's got their £213, how much he owed, allegedly, they sent him a blank one with zero value on it. Zero value.
So you should take that as that means you owe nothing then.
Yes. But in the letter at the top, because this is obviously blown up, and there's a letter at the top and it says, Dear Joe Blogs, da 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 da, in your bill and how much you owe, and they send this, and you tear it off and you pay. What he did, he actually still transferred it back, not transfer for my endorsement, on the writing on the video we did last time when we had the 3 stamps. But he still put the value on it, how much they was asking for. They were still asking for £400.
Where did he put the value?
At the top, when...
not on this then?
No,
yeah.
I'll show you where I can find it better.
We'll be right back.
We'll be right back. Where I wrote on that in the video, he actually put the value on there. He still put it as yeah.
Just here. That's where he wrote on it. Value.
How you normally do it. Where that was the value of £213, I've wrote on there £213. But on the bank gyro credit slip it says £213. His value was zero. But what he did, he still wrote on the top the same wording and still put the same price, the fee, but he never filled anything in because he can't do anything with it. So I'm transferring it back to the value of what you said I allegedly owe through the corporate bank.
Yep.
So that's what he did, so bear that one in mind. And the other little trick they're trying to play, and I think they're doing this because we're actually getting streets ahead of it now. They're trying to throw us now and see how we react. A couple of the guys have had a bank gyro credit slip instead of a joint gyro credit slip, and they're private people in private dwellings, and they're assuming they're operating as a business.
Well, of course, the straw man means that you sort of are, and I guess that's why they're trying to tilt it a little bit there.
But they're sending this now to say it's a bank gyro that is operating in commerce now. So what you need to do if you get one of those is phone them up and say, you've sent me a bill which is incorrect. You've not sent me the bill. You've sent me a bank gyro credit slip for a commercial agreement. I require a joint gyro credit slip for a non-commercial agreement, please. You've sent me an incorrect billing, which would be like the Capital One, yeah? So you'd have to go and pay it because you can't negotiate with a bank gyro credit slip, and I think this is where they're trying to scam us and twist us now. So they want the money. I'm going to get the money if you like it or not.
I want paying twice.
Yeah, so I'm going to give you a bank gyro credit slip, and you are going to go to that bank because the only way you can pay with a bank gyro is cash or cheque.
Or if you are a corporation.
Yes, it's the only way you can pay with it. We can't negotiate a bank gyro credit. Even a company can't because they operate in commerce through creating a profit. So they're actually sending them bank gyro credit slips.
Well, they're testing, but
but we're still ahead of it. We're still ahead of it. There's no worries. We're still ahead. We're not worried because we know what we're doing is right. But an important one that's come up as well: if they keep the bill under the bills of exchange, they keep the joint gyro credit slip. That means the debt has now been discharged under the bills of exchange. It's a win-win for us because if they keep it, they've discharged it, and if they send it back, the debt never existed anyway. So that's why they're sending it back.
Which, of course, it doesn't exist anyway.
No. But what's happened to me is I sent one off and heard nothing, but they've sent me back another joint gyro credit slip.
Well, they still want to get paid twice.
Yes. But I actually sent two off at the same time, and I've got no bones. I'll speak the truth. I've got nothing to hide. Mine was £400 with Severn Trent Water. So if they're watching it, I hope you're watching it because it'll prove what you're committing is fraud. They sent me two joint gyro credit slips with a total amount of about 450 quid. So I transferred it by endorsement and I sent it back to them. They sent me a letter back, and you've probably got these letters, and they said that we haven't got a contract with you.
Yeah.
Right? Well, they haven't, because only a man can contract with a man. It's an agreement. But you're obliged to pay for the sewerage. You're obliged to pay for that under the Water Act. So if I remember, acts and statutes can only be enforced when consent is given by the governed.
Yep. And that's another reason why you shouldn't vote, because you're consenting.
So I sent back and said, and you quote me the law, not the statutory law, because statutes and acts, legislation, they're done from the government. I said, you quote me the law when I'm supposed to pay.
Well, you say they're done from the government, they're actually done for the banks, because the banks the government's bought and paid for by the banks.
Yeah.
So it's all banking rubbish anyway.
So I said, you show me the law where it states that I'm to pay. And they said, we don't know why. You obviously believe that the bills of exchange is to do with me, sort of thing. What, you know, why the bills of exchange is anything to do with this?
Yeah, you know. Yeah. Apart from it's the only thing that commerce runs on, I don't know why you would think the bills of exchange has got anything to do with it.
So I told them basically, and I've not got it with me, but it is available, and I'll show you three now, just to prove that it does work. This one is Centrica.
I'll scan this and put it on the video because it'll be easy to see. But you can see the whole document.
Yeah. Now these companies that will write back to you will say that they don't accept the strawman argument.
Yeah.
It's nothing to do with Freeman of the Land strawman. It's nothing to do with that at all.
We don't deal with promissory notes. We don't deal with it.
Three letters. It's nothing to do with it. And they said we don't accept strawman arguments. We don't accept promissory notes.
And I'm sure all the people on Good F have heard this several times. Well, let's just see if that's true, shall we?
Yeah. But because they're making themselves an idiot, because what they're telling me now, they're showing their cards. They've got no understanding of the bills of exchange. Because I put them right and said, well, I'm not paid with a promissory note. I paid with a negotiable instrument.
But because when I guess that sort of might have been me that started this off many years ago. I was sending promissory notes back then, and they assume everything you're going to send to them is a promissory note because they can refuse that now, but they can't refuse what we're doing.
Yeah.
So just to show. Yeah.
So Severn Trent came back to me and said that. So if you go on the internet In fact, the Severn Trent Water one is on CUDF. It's under the utility section in the forum, and every company has these, and they're called memorandums of association, and basically it's how the company runs, the directors and the shares and the bonds and everything. But they say that they don't accept bills of exchange, promissory notes. This one is freely on the internet. This is Centrica's.
Now, who does Centrica own?
British Gas.
British Gas, there you go.
Okay, and this is their memorandum of association. There, freely available on the internet. It's quite a few pages, but I've only printed the one page that I need to print off. And I've highlighted it in yellow, and Mark will be putting it on the video. And it says, section 4.22, to draw, to make, to accept, to endorse, discount, negotiate, execute and issue checks, bills of exchange, promissory notes, bills of lading, warrants, deputants and other negotiable or transferable instruments.
There it is in their own terms and conditions. They have to run under these rules. They have to. Can only run under these
rules. They'll go bankrupt. So that's Centrica's, okay? I can go on and on and on. This is EDF. Okay, London.
Just show them the front first.
Yeah, London Electric. Again, memorandums of association. Blowing about in the wind, but it's London Electric, which is now owned by EDF, which are a French company. There's a lot of other countries now getting involved. Again, it's a few pages. I've printed off the appropriate page, highlighted it with a red box, which will be in the video. To draw, to make, to accept, to endorse, to negotiate, to execute, to issue checks, bills of exchange, promissory notes, bills of lading, warrants, deputants and other negotiable, transferable instruments.
There we go.
Shall I carry on now? I think we've said enough.
Give them one more if we've got one
Right.
more. If you haven't, then don't worry.
Yes. NNB Generating Company, owned by EDF again. You can do this one this time.
To draw, make, accept, endorse, discount, negotiate, execute and issue promissory notes, bills of exchange, bills of lading, warrants, debentures.
Yeah, deputants, I think that's his debentures.
And other negotiable and transferable instruments.
There you go. So when they send you these letters back and they say they don't accept a promissory note or bills of exchange, they're lying.
Negotiable instruments.
They're negotiable instruments. But remember, we can't pay utilities on a promissory note. Because the bills of exchange involves promissory notes, only companies that can draw off the bank, they actually issue promissory notes. And in fact, the last document I produced was E.ON. And I think that was a €450 million promissory note with a maturity date of 7 years.
7 years, that's strange, isn't it? Because if you come up to the Sescavir Act, you have to prove you're alive within 7 years, otherwise you're classed as dead. I wonder if that's got anything to do with it.
But that was a 7-year maturity value of a promissory note from E.ON, and that's €450 million. It has to work because I keep saying it's how commerce works. Otherwise we'll go bankrupt. And then we've had some more comments that, well, why do you need to get to county court? Why do you need to do that? You need to be in the right jurisdiction, which is civil jurisdiction. And the reason it has to go to county court, and hopefully we will win when it goes, because if it's a bill of exchange and a district judge actually awards against me through my honour and remedy of a bill of exchange and awards against the energy company, he's just gone against the whole concept of the bills of exchange and commerce. He's going to say you can't use them, and that means British Gas can't use them.
So we can't pay further gas with promissory notes to Russia and whatever?
Because it's going against the mechanism, how it works to pay it. And it's quite clear when it says it what the bills of exchange are. And that's why it needs to be to county court. But I said before, you can read an act, I can read it and Mark, but the only one that can read it correctly is the judge. But once you see section 123, the Consumer Credit Act, number 5, non-commercial agreement, I've paid with honour, sir, I've transferred it back, I'm not owed it, it's been issued by the corporate bank. They've drew it, and the drawer as well, they're the drawer and the drawee. I've not asked for the cheque, they just gave it me. I can't do anything with it. I can't go to the bank because they won't cash it, and I can't go to the post office, but I'm going to transfer it back and have it back. So they've give it you and take away. At the same time, they've give it in your left hand and you're taking it away in the right hand and you're giving it in back. And that's how it works. But so at the start, you take away something from the man always has to be compensated.
Yep.
So they've give it you, they took it away, but they gave it you back. And that's it, you're just transferring it, zero me back. And that's it. But if they do send the joint gyro credit slip back, what you need to do is a notary protest.
Yeah.
You must do a notary protest.
And you can find out a template if you don't know what one of them is. There's a template on We're Bank website. I forget whereabouts it is, but it's in on the main site there, where it's a template for the notary protest. So if you don't know how to do it, get on there and have a look.
And basically what a notary protest means is that you've sent a bill with honour and remedy, and they've just sent it back, and it was lawful bill to pay, and you're protesting it. You say, I've sent you a bill, you've protested it, for the amount, who it was to, the date, and I quoted in there. In fact, I've scanned one, and you'll probably put that on.
Yeah.
And you'll see what this was. Mine I drew up, and you get two good standing people, or men or women,
not relatives
or anyone that lives in your household, and witness you signing the notary protest, and they sign it as well. So make sure it's the same ink.
Just to be clear here, all they're doing is witnessing Kev sign it. They just say, I've seen Kevin sign it, and that's it. So you can just say,
They're
I've
not
seen
going to
Kevin
get to
sign
court.
it. It's nothing to do apart from witnessing his signature.
Yeah. And basically when we're doing the bills of exchange, it's ping pong. So when you issue a notary protest, you're hitting the ball back to the court, the other side, and it stops. It stops there. So now if they come at you again, you say, well, hold on, I issued a note, I've paid, sir, with honour and remedy under the bills of exchange as a negotiable instrument. They've sent it back, which said the alleged debt never existed. So when you get the notary protest and it comes back, your joint gyro credit, send it off within 3 days.
With 3 days because of contract law, because you've got 3 days to reject a contract, and they've sent it you back saying you haven't paid, so you're putting a notary protest in within 3 days saying, no, the ball's back in your court, have it back.
Yeah, and that's where it stops.
Pretty much.
Pretty much so, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Don't think there's anything more ready to cover.
I think that's about it.
Yeah. Put your bill in dispute before you start there. Oh yeah, that was it. If you're going to have a dabble, shall we say?
Yeah.
If you're going to have a dabble in this, we suggest that you do one at a time. And the first one that me and Mark are going to recommend you to go for at the moment, if it's a learning for you, go for your water.
Yeah. Now, why water?
It's the easiest one you can do. They can't cut you off.
Correct.
Because the Water Act is part of human rights. They can't cap you, restrict you, or cut you off, or...
If they do any of that, then you need to make a human rights complaint against them, and they will be in deep poo-poo.
Yeah, there's two ways you can do your water. I opted not to do that method. Mark knows what I'm going on that one. I opted not to do that. I opted to go for this method because I'm testing the water. I'm testing the water really because I want to go through the bills of exchange. So that's why I've done it. But I sent 2 off. They've said they've refused. I've issued a notary protest and some more letters, not the legal pack, just some more letters. I've issued a Section 10 data protection, a cease and desist, a nice letter explaining about the bills of exchange and promissory notes, and they've sent me another joint gyro credit slip back, only this time for the value of 200 instead of 4. So where's the other £200 gone? Yeah, and why have they sent it me back again when I've already paid and discharged it with remedy under the bills of exchange as a negotiable instrument? So I'm not going to do anything with that. Ball's still back in their court because I've issued the notary protest, so I'm ignoring and see what they're going to come back with me on it. So if you want to do the notary protest, the negotiable instrument, I suggest that you try the water, because you can do it with the water. But they will bounce letters back. It's not easy, because they'll say that we don't accept it, and
this comes back to why we want to get to court, because we get to court we get case law, they've all got to accept it then.
Yeah.
So if you're unsure,
Yeah.
just wait. It's
Wait.
The whole system's coming down very soon.
But go for your, I would say go for your water first. It's probably the easiest one to go for.
And there's a law that the beautiful government put out saying that they will pay your water bill anyway if you don't pay.
It's already paid for, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, go for your water first. That'll give you confidence and learn what we're doing. And then when you feel that you got the knowledge, then go for your gas and electric. It's not the hard one. It's so easy, but it's the one that's not going to go away as quick.
The trickiest bit is if it gets into court and they flip jurisdiction and you
Yeah.
don't see it, you could end up with someone coming up the door trying to draw your locks.
Yeah, and going for your gas and electric is not, as we said, not for the faint-hearted, because even though what we're doing we know is right because it's been working and we know it's been working, even though we're right and you know what we're saying is right and we're quoting acts and statutes, if you get a copper that turns up because he's in uniform and he thinks I am and he's going to get involved, yeah, we're right, we know he's wrong, but they'll still do it. But the new legislation that's come out now is the Criminal Justice Act 2015.
Yes.
I think it's page 32 or 36. It's section 26, and it puts a lot onto the police now that if they're actually enforcing their powers and privileges outside their oath of office, outside their jurisdiction, they're now committing perjury and misconduct in public office, because now they're aiding and abetting the gas. So the gas get their money off me, so they're making other companies profit through their powers and privileges and can't do it. So that's quite a good one. It only came out, I think it was last week, 13th or something like that. Probably been like about 2 weeks now.
Yeah, Derb JB put a video out about it, I think.
Yeah. So we suggest that you do your water first. Oh yes. It's in debate at the moment, isn't it? So
well,
I'll let Mark discuss this one. I'll get the right one. You could use that as mine. When I do the endorsement on the joint gyro credit slips, I do the writing, you'll see it, and I'll put the 3 stamps there. And the reason I put the 3 stamps there is because the 2 packs that's gone through to court, it's worked. So we're using a pack that has worked, but I've actually tightened up the screws a little bit with some more documents I've issued for my legal pack, and I've shared mine with Paul and people in the group as well, so we're bouncing off of each other and helping each other. And when I put the stamps, I'm just paying the stamp duty, because in the old times that's how it was done, because now we've got the lovely mail system where you put it in an envelope and you post it, and that's how it works. But years ago that's how people used to do it, but they didn't do it with a stamp. They probably had the ring and they did it with the wax, you know. And that was their endorsement, that was their authority and whatever. So I put the stamps on there to pay the stamp duty and sign across it, showing intent that I don't own that document outright. This is where we're debating at the moment, but we know it works, it's a working thing, so it still works. I've used this method. So we've paid the stamp duty on that document. So basically no one can tamper with that document, but I don't own it. So if I give this to Mark, the one Mark's going to do now is how you make yourself postmaster.
And that means they can't touch the document.
They can't touch it, period. But this is in debate, but this is still a way of doing it.
Now there's a video on Sri Lanka Sea explaining all this, but I'm not going to go through the whole thing because it takes too long. But basically you put a stamp at the top here. Again, don't touch the gyro credit slip, but put that down again on the right hand side, another stamp down here, and on the back, again the right hand side there. Now, you'll notice on Kev's one here how he signed it left to right. Now, it's very important that you sign it left to right, and the reason for that is, I'm sure you've heard the saying, the pen's mightier than the sword. Well, if you draw a sword, you draw it like that, sort of across your body, and that's what you're doing there. That's why the pen's mightier than the sword. I'll put a quick link towards the end here on where I discussed the postmaster method, so if you want to have a look at that, you can have a look at that on YouTube.
Yeah, and you got your thumbprint, haven't you, as well?
Thumbprint again on the right hand side, and the reason it's on the right hand side is because the right hand side is the creditor side, the left hand side is the debtor side. So on the right hand side of the stamp, and the stamp's on the right hand side.
The other thing as well, when you sign in and you're dealing with debt, or these, when you sign it, don't put yours sincerely or yours faithfully. Put by, colon, and your name, because once you put by, colon, and then your name, you're not accepting any liability. You'll find it in a lot of high-ranking organisations, corporate businesses, even probably the chief officers and police, and probably even the Prime Minister and the royalty. They'll always put by, colon, and then the signature.
I know high up bank managers do that.
Because basically if they're representing the company and they make bad deals and that bank or company goes bust, they cannot accept liability. And that's basically why you put by, colon, and the name. And I think it's all right just to put your name. Don't be frightened of your name. I don't think you'd have to go of the family. Just put your name.
Because I would sign it. I mean, if I'm printing it underneath, then I might put it, for instance, I might put Mark, with a dash, if I had a middle name, then a middle name, and then a colon, and then my last name. But if you've just got a first and last name, Mark, colon, Salon.
Yeah, and that word that you said, that line of word, if you can remember it, that you put at the end of the letter, which basically is, I'm giving you the letter, but if you remain silent.
Guy Taylor's.
I'm starting to
implied admission, absent a response and compliance at the very bottom of the letter.
Which means, well, it means
if they don't reply to you in substance, they're agreeing with everything you said.
So you can see from the last video how much more we've added in, and it's only what we've found out, and that's what it is, keeping you all updated. But we thought we'd get it out about the draw, the drawee, and the payee. So the draw is the man that's going to create the cheque. The drawee, is the man that's going to create the cheque. The draw is where the money comes from, and the payee is the one who is down the chain, is going to get the credit for that, and get the money. Promissory note is debtor and creditor, because as I say, on the promissory note there's been no money created, only at the end of the maturity, when the money is done, and then Mark will be then the drawer and the drawee, and he pays me, and I'm the payee.
Why am I always the one in debt?
I don't know.
And you're always getting paid.
Well, you know.
I think that's about it then, is it?
I think so. We've got hopefully. Well, it's not hopefully. It's going to happen. Beat the bailiffs and the banks.
Yes.
We've got a big. Well, it's like a seminar day, really. We're calling it R&R, and it's been held in Bolton at this moment, but its dates aren't confirmed yet. So watch out for the flyer when it goes out.
Well, the flyer's already out on Get Out of Debt Free on the events, but as soon as we get the full details, they'll appear there as well.
The venue might change, but the flyer's out, but not at the moment because we haven't got the date. But we've got. If you still can't grasp it, I'll be talking there. We've got myself and Paul. We're going to bounce off each other, and we're going to talk about utilities and the bills of exchange. These are the speakers we've got for the day. We've got Mark from Get Out of Debt Free. You'll just go and see how it goes, really, what you're going to talk about. We've got Peter of England, who's doing Way Bank. You've probably heard about that with the promissory notes, issuing the checkbooks, which will fall nicely into what me and Paul are doing, although we still do it with a negotiable instrument at this moment in time. We've got Tom Crawford.
Yes.
He's agreed to come up, which is nice of Tom. Hopefully he'll be talking about the mortgages and what goes on behind the scenes in the mortgages. We've got Wes. He's going to do a bit of bailiff busting and advice. And we're just waiting now, because Friday's going to be a big day where we are in Nottingham. I'm going to see Guy Taylor. Have a word with Guy, and hopefully we can get Guy up as well. So probably about 6 of us there, 7 speakers. There'll be food on, and hopefully we're going to have a disco and music in the evening, so it's just going to be a relaxing day, and hopefully you'll get some knowledge out of it as well. You'll learn something, and be a chance to meet the admins, a chance to meet the members, and put face to who you've been speaking to all these years.
But do remember to come up and say who you are, because you know us, but we don't know you.
And just come up with your handle in your forum. What you use. So that's in the very near future, that is. And that should be a good day.
I've heard it rumoured within about the next 8 weeks.
So that's where we are on that. So if you're still not sure on the bills of exchange, then you've got another chance to actually meet me and Paul in person. Well, I don't know, you can't say person because it's not it's corporate, isn't it? Person. You can meet me and Paul the man. And you pull us to one side, and if you're not too sure, just ask us, and same, I'm sure Mark will do the same as well. So it should be a good day. But keep posted and we'll let you know.
And with that,
and it's the same again as last time. It's goodbye from me,
and it's goodbye from him.
And we're not going down the pub this week, are we? We had 2 hours in last time.
Yeah, we've got to sort that thing out.
Yeah.
See you later.